Yes, they're both soft, they're bouncy, they're responsive, they're fast, but how do they feel different and how do they differ? Well, shoe comparison I've got for you guys today. So we are going to put some super shoes head to head here. So we've got the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite 3 up against the Adidas Adizero Adios Pro 4. So we'll go through their similarities, their differences and key features, and hopefully from that, that'll give you guys a good indication of choosing the right race shoe for you. But before we get into it, and if you guys want to support the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with the specs, so both neutral road racing shoes, and checking out the price there, massive big price mismatch in Australia and in the US as well, because the Pro 4 is $10 more expensive than the Fast-R in Australia, and then you can see the big price difference there in the US between these two shoes. Now, checking out the weight, there is a little bit of a difference there. Now, can you feel that? Well, in the hand, it's quite hard to tell because the lighter things are, obviously, the harder it is to tell the difference. But on the foot, yes, I could tell a little bit that the Fast-R just feels a little bit more feather light. Now, in the stacks there, nothing between the stacks, and I can't really notice a difference in the drop just because the geometry is so unique in both shoes. And in the uppers, two different designs going on here. So with the Fast-R, material that they use here is called Ultra Weave. Essentially, that's just a really fine mesh. You can see straight through it. The breathability is absolutely excellent. Really surprisingly solid heel counter in the back here. Minimal amount of padding around the heel collar. Just finished off there just with this felt type material, but it is nice and comfortable. A crazy thin tongue, so probably one of the thinnest tongues on the market. It's essentially just a piece of that Ultra Weave mesh. It's not gusseted and it can get really fiddly to get straight as you're putting the shoe on. No issues with the lacing system. It's very standard, just reinforced eyelets. You get a couple of pairs of laces in this. If you don't like the laces that it comes with, these sort of felt type fluffy laces, you can change over to the notch laces that a few of the other super shoes use. Now, in the lockdown department, excellent here in the Fast-R for me. So great midfoot lockdown, no heel slippage whatsoever. In the fit though, this shoe will fit long, just historically like the other Puma race shoes do. So if you have a chance, I know it's almost impossible to actually try a pair of these on before you buy them because they're so rare. But I was lucky enough to do so, and I knew that the shoe was too long and I could come down half a size because the width did not bother me. So if you have a thin foot or a normal width foot, I suggest that you could probably come half size down in the Fast-R and the width should be fine. If you've got a wide foot, yeah, I think the shoe is going to be too narrow if you do try to go half size down. Now, with the Pro 4, so the material that they use here is called Light Lock. Now, this Light Lock it's super thin, it's super soft, it's flexible, it really just conforms around the foot. However, it is just nowhere near as breathable as what you get in the Fast-R. So that's probably the big downside to the upper here on the Pro 4. We don't have as much structure in the heel counter here. So as you can see, it's pretty flimsy in comparison to the Fast-R. So something to take note of. We've got probably a little bit more padding around the heel collar in the Pro 4. So slightly more. It's got like an internal heel pad. However, it's still got that, it's still finished off quite harshly around the top of the heel collar. That may cause some runners some issues, but we don't have that in the Fast-R. Still a really thin tongue in the Pro 4. It's got a pad centrally just to take that laces pressure off, but this tongue is stitched in. And it doesn't go anywhere. It's really easy to get your foot in, so I really like that. Just reinforced eyelets down either side. Really thin laces that can get a bit tricky to cinch up, to nail your lockdown. Because they just are so thin, but once you get it, they are good to go. Now, in the lockdown department, no issues here with the Pro 4 either. So great once you can work these laces up through the midfoot, and no heel slippage in the back. And I'm one of those lucky runners that this heel collar doesn't irritate. So overall, the fit in this shoe, I think, it just fits me like a glove. In the fit, for me, true to size in the length, and the width, absolutely perfect. You will get a wider toe box in the Pro 4 in comparison to this shoe. And in the outsoles, two of the best on the market here. So we've got Puma Grip in the Fast-R. So for me, I think Puma Grip is the market leader outsole compound. So lots of covering here on the bottom here. Essentially the entirety of the forefoot's covered, and a couple of little spots there in the high wear areas at the rear just to protect that super foam in the rear. Now, it doesn't have any lugs or anything like that. It's quite a slick surface, but I don't anticipate this shoe being slippery in the wet. I haven't run in it in the wet yet, but if I'm a betting man, it's going to be good to go. And durability as well. It's a race shoe. I'm not really worried about it because it is in a race shoe, but Puma Grip historically is pretty durable as well. But performance-wise, it is absolutely excellent. You couldn't want anything else in the bottom of your shoe, whereas we can say the same thing with what's going on here in the bottom of the Pro 4. So light traction outsole. So this compound, it's actually thinner and softer than what you're going to find with the Puma Grip. So yeah, it is so thin. It looks like it's just been sprayed on. Yeah, it's see-through. It's really soft. It's really sticky, very grippy in all conditions. I have run in this one in the wet, and it is absolutely amazing. So performance-wise, I think these two shoes absolutely just go head-to-head. No issues with either, and I think you can be quite confident on race day that they're not going to let you down. So this is where the magic happens, and with the Fast-R, so brand new formulation of Nitro Elite foam. So 2 layers of this Nitro Elite foam. Our top layer, it's quite thin in the rear of the shoe, this top layer, but then we get a nice big slab of it under the forefoot when we're powering off in the shoe, just where I like it. Under that top layer, they've got their full-length power plate or their carbon plate. Now this carbon plate, it's not just, it is one piece, but it has got some cutouts through it as well, just to drop some weight in the shoe. It's actually an extended plate as well, so it does come off the end of the shoe here, and that acts like a little bit of a lever as you're running along in the shoe. Obviously designed to improve some efficiency in the shoe. Now, under that last, under our carbon plate, we've just got a nice thinner layer of that Nitro Elite foam in the forefoot, but then we've got a big segment of it in the rear of the shoe, and you notice how it's placed. So we're missing a lot of the foam in the heel here, and that will cause, I think, some issues, which I'll go into later for certain types of runners. So yeah, you'll notice the majority of the foam here is pretty much right under the ankle, and sort of nothing right in the rear. Now, stiffness-wise, with our power plate here, it's quite a rigid shoe, proper carbon plate. So yeah, super stiff shoe here. And in the geometry department, we have got, I'm going to say, it's a early stage rocker, and it is quite a, it's quite an aggressive rocker. So it does swoop up quite aggressively. Can certainly feel it at a wide variety of paces. Now, in comparison to the Pro 4, so Light Strike Pro is what they use here. Now, this is a different formulation of what you're going to find in the Evo SL and also the Boston. So if you're confused about that, this is totally different. This is much softer, much more foamy, yeah, much more super, I think, in my opinion as well. So 2 layers of this Light Strike Pro. We've got our top layer. Again, it's thinner near the rear, but we get a nice big slab of it at the top layer under the forefoot there. Then under that, they have got their carbon energy rods. Now, these are proper carbon energy rods. They're not glass infused or carbon composite or anything like that, because this shoe is super stiff. And I will say it is a stiffer shoe than the Fast-R. Now, in bottom layer, we have just got a bit of a bigger section of that Light Strike Pro in the heel, and then a thinner layer under the forefoot. Now, in the geometry department, so this shoe as well, this is where the magic is in this shoe. So this has got a really early stage rocker as well, and a big aggressive swoop forward. So quite an aggressive toe spring. Now, when comparing these two shoes, and this is what made me do the comparison between these two shoes, just to look at the Fast-R, its geometry most resembles for me the Pro 4. However, when running in the shoe, Pro 4's rocker feels like it is slightly earlier as in transition, so slightly further back towards the middle of the shoe in comparison to the Fast-R. And in the ride, well, both shoes do use their brand's premium super foam. Yes, they're both soft, they're bouncy, they're responsive, they're fast, but how do they feel different and how do they differ? Well, first and foremost, the biggest difference between these two shoes is how they feel through the heel. So they both have really soft heels. However, the Fast-R's heel does collapse really, really easily, and it is far more unstable when in comparison to the Pro 4. So yeah, this has still got a soft heel, but it's a lot more stable. So this heel, yeah, if you're a big heel striker, this little heel pod on the back here, it's going to collapse really easily and can feel a little unstable to some runners. So this shoe, to get the most out of this shoe, you really need to pick up the pace. And when you're picking up the pace and running fast in the shoe, this is where the shoe comes alive, because yeah, it is amazing through the midfoot and in the forefoot, and when you start to use this geometry, and also when this lever starts to kick in, where is in comparison to the Pro 4. So this is pretty much, it's more of a runner friendly shoe. So a lot more friendly through the heel, a lot more stable, and the transition from heel to toe off is smoother, because yeah, it can just handle a wider variety of paces. So if you're just jogging around in the shoe, you're landing a little bit more through the heel, yeah, it's not as crazy, and it doesn't feel as wobbly as you come into toe off. Now when you're picking up the pace in both shoes, so both hitting the same pace range, both hitting the same effort, how do they feel through the forefoot? Well, the Fast-R, the foam in the Fast-R is, you can tell it has got more punch to it. So it's got more bounce, it's got more explosiveness to it, and it's more responsive, and it is more exciting. So that's where I think the Fast-R has got the big advantage here over the Pro 4, and it's just the excitement of the foam. The geometry, as I said before, it's very, very similar. Very similar, but it's just, the transition just isn't as smooth as the Pro 4. However, this is faster. So although the rocker is a little bit later, I think it accommodates the faster paces better than the Pro 4 does. Where the Pro 4, I think, just, yeah, it's very versatile in the amount of paces that it can handle, but it just sort of lacks that top end aggressive speed, especially when in comparison to this. And best shoes, well, I do think these two shoes shine in different areas and different efforts as we run. So the Pro 4 for me, this is best suited to the marathon, and I believe that's exactly how it's designed. Just with this nice soft heel, a little bit more stable in those nice smooth transitions, and this big early aggressive rocker makes it, yeah, it makes it really easy just to get onto, and no matter sort of what pace that you're running at, it's going to work for a lot of runners. It just does lack that that really aggressive top end speed and that pop off the forefoot that the Fast-R does deliver. So for me, this one really shines at probably half marathon down, so half marathon 10K, 5K, when you're really onto the midfoot and you're really putting some power here through toe off, using the lever. This is where this shoe comes alive. And just wrapping up the comparison here between these two shoes, so both absolutely amazing super shoes, both great options for your races. However, the real differences is how they react through the heel. So the Puma Fast-R, this heel, it's pretty much non-existent, and if you are landing on it, like it's, again, this foam's going to kick in at about the ankle, and it collapses quite easily. So if you are one of those runners that comes through the heel quite heavily, the shoe may feel too unstable for you. The heel might be too soft. So I think you best avoid this one unless you can run in this shoe and you're primarily coming through the midfoot and putting a lot of power through the front of the shoe. Whereas the Pro 4, as I said, much more runner friendly shoe, especially through the heel. So a nice soft landing through the heel, smoother transition, and the geometry in this shoe, it's going to accommodate the slower efforts, but all the way up to some faster efforts as well. It's just going to lack that really aggressive top end pop that the Fast-R has. So yeah, this one obviously an amazing shoe, but it's just not going to be for everyone. It's not going to be for the masses. Whereas this one certainly for me suits more runners. Certainly suits the masses out there. It's a much safer shoe, but just not as explosive and as exciting as the Fast-R. But anyway, guys, that's it for me. Any questions you've got regarding these two shoes, just drop it in the comments. If you want to know how they relate to anything else, just ask me. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.